Okay, let's make a pass over the lagoon.
Pilots have a specific task to do at each stage of the flight. If witnesses can identify how high Santurén climbed, it might help investigators figure out what he was trying to do when he lost control of the plane. They ask witnesses to watch as Bouillard's plane climbs from the airport.
If you ask them what was the maximum altitude, they might not be able to tell you, or this was 500 feet or 1,000 feet or 2,000 feet. But if you actually show them an aircraft in the air and say, this is 500 feet, did it match what you saw? They can say more easily yes or no.
No, it's too high.
Okay, let's make one more pass, this time a little lower.
We asked the witness to tell them which one of the recreated flights match the most what they remember from the day of the accident.
Yes, that's exactly where I saw the plane.
The right height.
Excellent. We are at an altitude of almost 400 feet. Okay, let's go back.
The test flights give Bouillard a good idea of how high Michel Santurén managed to climb.
The flights we did allowed us to estimate the altitude at which the plane changed its trajectory.
Whatever went wrong, it happened when he was still climbing.
But he still doesn't know what caused the plane's sudden dive, or why the pilot couldn't recover.
When you have an airplane going nose down after takeoff, you can think of engine failure, obviously.
Dual engine failure.
A twin otter can fly safely with only one engine. But if both engines fail, that could cause a steep dive like the one the witnesses saw.
That was a possibility. It would match in terms of trajectory.
But having two engines fail at the exact same time is an extremely rare event.
Dual engine failure could be caused, of course, by fuel starvation, but that's quite unlikely right after takeoff. Or it can be also, let's not forget, bird ingestions in both engines, but that's quite unlikely also.
Most witnesses also report hearing engines as the plane dove towards the sea. Dual engine failure now seems even more unlikely. Sounds captured by the cockpit recorder could confirm if the engines were running. But until it's recovered, Bouillard only has the unusual flight path to go on.
This information was certainly important, but it didn't explain what happened. It seemed to us that the pilot might have had a physical breakdown, some kind of incapacitation that put the plane into a descent. These are planes that are flown by a single pilot. When a pilot is physically incapacitated, there's no one to take over control of the plane.
If the pilot had been incapacitated and then would have just leaned over on the flight controls, indeed, it would then match the trajectory of the aircraft.
The captain's body has been recovered and sent for autopsy. The coroner has checked for any signs of a medical condition that might interfere with the captain's ability to fly. But when Bouillard reads the results,
it wasn't a heart attack.
He's back at square one.
There was nothing to suggest that he had a health problem. We have regular medical checkups. He passed without any difficulty.
We closed the door on pilot incapacitation as the cause of the accident.
Bouillard must consider every possible cause for the crash. He explores a terrifying possibility.
What about a deliberate act of sabotage?
Did someone board the flight intending to commit murder?
Une intrusion d'une personne dans le cockpit.
Intrusion into the cockpit, it's something that was plausible.
Plausible.
We are knows that it's happened before. December the 7th, 1987. A disgruntled airline employee smuggles a handgun aboard Pacific Southwest Airlines Flight 1771. In mid-flight, he shoots his former boss, then rushes towards the cockpit, where he shoots a flight attendant and both pilots. He then forces the plane into a steep dive. There's no hope for any of the 43 people aboard. The small jet slams into a California hillside and disintegrates.
I'm sorry, sir. You can't be in. What are you doing?
If someone on Air Maria Flight 1121 entered the cockpit and attacked the pilot, the sound of the struggle would be on the cockpit voice recorder.
À ce stade de l'enquête, il nous paraissait
At this stage of the investigation, it was pretty obvious that we had to find the CVR.
On August the 26th, 17 days after the accident, the French research vessel Ile de Ré finally arrives. The team knows the approximate location of the wreckage, but ocean currents may have shifted the sunken debris.
We had narrowed down the search zone to a circle of about 260 meters in diameter. We were fairly confident it was going to be in that zone, but we didn't know if it was going to be laying by itself on the seabed or if it was still in the fuselage of the aircraft.
They zero in on the recorder's locator beacon.
That's the sound we're looking for.
Technicians on the Ile de Ré launch a remotely operated underwater vehicle, or ROV, towards the sound.
Et très vite, nous avons localisé.
We quickly located the area on the sea floor where the wreckage was dispersed.
There's our twin otter.
The remains of Air Maria Flight 1121 lie more than 650 meters below the waves.
Nous avons vu
We saw the
les ailes
detached
détachées,
wings.
nous avons vu
We saw the engines. We saw part of the cockpit.
See if you can find the tail.
La décision très vite a été de se.
The decision was quickly made to focus on the tail, where the cockpit voice recorder could be found.
de conversation.
Okay, let's cut it open and get the CVR out of there.
Et nous avons pris la décision
We decided to cut through the fuselage to recover the flight recorder.
de conversation.
It's a delicate operation. One false move and the sub could damage or destroy the crucial recorder.
Nice and easy.
We were really hoping to find it there, undamaged or just slightly damaged, and therefore increasing our chance of success for the readout process.
The salvage operation demands incredible patience.
Ce travail de découpe.
This job of cutting out or of the ROV chewing open a hole in the plane took 5 or 6 hours of work before we could get to the cockpit voice recorder.
De conversation.
Finally, the team frees the CVR.
We got it. Excellent work.
Il nous a passé un grand.
We felt a great sigh of relief.
So it was a sense of satisfaction and then also worries, because if you have the recorder, that's a very good thing, but then you have to have the data in it. So the next phase to organize was shipping the recorder back to the lab at the BEA for a readout as soon as possible.
Along with the voice recorder, the salvage effort brings up other key pieces of wreckage.
Nous avions décidé de...
We decided to recover some of the pieces that we thought would be needed, in addition to the information from the CVR.
du CV.
We wanted to get the engines. We wanted to get as much cockpit panel as possible.
They quickly download the CVR data. A lone pilot hardly speaks at all. Investigators must listen for other sounds that could provide leads.
On the cockpit voice recorder, we could hear the normal takeoff roll, and then the climb phase seems to be rolling normally.
They can hear the sound of the plane as Santorin lifts off and adjusts his controls.
L'intrusion dans le cockpit était une hypothèse qui était...
An intrusion into the cockpit was still an open hypothesis. We waited for the CVR to close that door.
Fermer cette porte.
There's no sound of an intruder in the cockpit.
La première impression que nous a donnée...
The first impression we got from listening to the CVR was that there was no intrusion into the cockpit. There had been no other people in the cockpit.
Then they hear the pilot cry out in surprise.
Damn it.
Tout était parfaitement normal.
Everything was perfectly normal until the moment when the pilot swore.
C'est ce juron.
The sound recorded in the cockpit allows investigators to rule out another theory as well.
Engines sound fine.
The CVR proved they are at the maximum takeoff power all the way to impact.
Sounds like he's pulling in the flaps.
The pilot's cry of surprise comes just after he adjusts the flaps on his Twin Otter.
Again, please.
You could hear on the CVR the flap being retracted. You can also hear the pilot breathe a little bit heavier, like he was pulling on the flight controls at that time. And then immediately after that, you hear him being very surprised.
Moments later, the plane slams into the sea.
Even with a lot of experienced cockpit voice recorders are always hard to hear, especially when you know there's a tragic ending.
It's connected to the flaps. Just, I don't understand how.
Investigators learn that on flights to Tahiti, Twin Otter pilots retract their flaps when they reach about 400 feet, the same altitude where Flight 1121 began to dive. They wonder if the flaps malfunctioned. Before takeoff, pilots routinely extend their wing flaps to increase lift while they climb.
Pour les phases de croisière,
Once the plane approaches cruising altitude, extended flaps increase drag, so pilots must retract them when they approach cruising altitude.
Investigators study the mechanism that operates the flaps.
We did recover the flap actuator and we were able to analyze it.
They find that it's in the correct position and shows no sign of any malfunction.
Flaps are fine.
The results of the examination showed that the flaps were retracted at impact.
After weeks of work, we still can't explain why Flight 1121 fell out of the sky.
Now, let's take a good, close look at these cables.
He focuses on the cables that operate crucial control surfaces in the tail of the plane.
nous restait la possibilité d'une défaillance.
We were left with the possibility of a mechanical breakdown or failure.
The control surfaces in the tail of a Twin Otter are activated by just 4 cables. 2 move the plane's rudder right and left, and 2 move the elevator up and down. All 4 were damaged in the crash. VR looks for anything that might tell him when and how they snapped. Aviation cables are made up of multiple strands of thin wire that are twisted and then braided together for extra strength. 3 cables have unraveled, clear indication that they were ripped apart suddenly on impact.
And impact damage.
But 1 cable looks different.
Now this is interesting. This one did not snap on impact.
1 cable was broken in a different manner than the 3 other ones. So that was something that we had to investigate.
2 cables run to the elevator on the tail. One pulled